All right, let's dive right into Lightroom. This lesson is how you import photos. So make sure you download the practice photos that we're going to be working with throughout the rest of this course from the previous lesson. Once you unzip that file, you should have a number of folders like this, and we're going to be using different folders in different sections of this course. The way that Lightroom works in terms of importing photos is that it is actually reading the photos and having the photos on your computer, but it's not actually moving the photo file. It's just reading it from wherever you save it on your computer. So make sure you stay organized in your documents or in your Finder, whether you're using Mac or PC, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you're organized with your photos outside of Lightroom so that when you get into Lightroom, it's easier as well. So I'm going to really be showing you how to organize within Lightroom, but I just wanted to kind of say that because a lot of photographers ask me, how do I organize my photos? Make sure you're backing up and make sure you're organizing it. I organize by date, by year, then by month, and then by shoot in a folder structure like that, but it's really up to you. Okay, so let's get into Lightroom, and it's pretty easy. If you open up Lightroom for the first time, you should see something like this. Up at the top, you have your library. You have your other tabs, which are the different workrooms and spaces that you're going to be able to edit photos in, do things like maps and books and slideshows that we'll talk about later in this course. Up at the top left, you have your file menu. And then around here, you have all kinds of different things that you don't really necessarily know what you're working with yet, but we're going to be covering this in the next lessons. What I want you to do first, though, is look over here to this import button down on the bottom left. If you click that, or if you go to File, Import, Photos and Videos, or if you press the keyboard shortcut Shift-Command-I, that would be Shift-Control-I on a PC, you'll open up the import window. All right, so once you have the import window, you'll see that on the left-hand side, you have the source. This is looking at your computer files and the structure of your folders or any external hard drives that are plugged into your computer. And you'll see that if you open up these folders, you'll start to see the folder structure of your computer. Now, I have these folders saved on my computer. So if I go into those specific folder, which I could find by going into my documents, under Video School Online, under Classes, under Lightroom Classic CC, under Supplemental Resources. So if I click on one of these folders, it's going to open up all of the photos within this folder. If you don't see the photos, right-click and make sure you choose Include Subfolders. If you don't see that, that's okay too. You'll see this option in the middle that says No Photos Found, Include Subfolders. Or you can just go to the subfolders. So I have this Advanced Editing folder, we have extra photos, we have full editing sessions. And when I do that, we see all of the different photos pop up in this big window in the middle. And this is where we can select the photos that we want to import. Now, I went through all of my document folders to find these supplemental resources, but whether you put it on your desktop or it's on an external hard drive, you're just going to find it through this sort of file menu. So I'm just going to include subfolders. It's going to give you this message saying that it's going to include all of the photos. And now this is where you can choose what to import and what not to import. So for us, we're going to import all of these photos, but if you wanted to, you could uncheck photos that you don't want to import. You can also quickly uncheck photos with this button down here to uncheck all, or go back and check all. You can go through and open up a bigger window with this button down here. Then you can use your arrow keys to go right and left. And then at the bottom, you have this include and import checkbox. So this is a better way to maybe see the photos. If you're on a photo shoot or if you went traveling and shot a bunch of photos, you might not necessarily need to import all of your photos. That being said, the way that I typically import photos is I'll import all of the photos and then I'll start to organize later on, choosing which photos I actually want to import. Over on the right-hand side, we have some options just to pay attention to. What's automatically checked on is this Don't Import Suspected Duplicates button. This is important because you actually don't want to be re-importing the same photo multiple times in Lightroom, because then your organization can get kind of wonky. And if you go out and you open up Lightroom again and you're trying to find the photo that you edited previously, if you have multiple photos of the same photo or multiple versions of the same photo, then it's going to get really confusing. Another option you have here is called Add to Collection. Now, so a collection is sort of a folder within Lightroom that is a way to organize your photos. Now, I'm going to uncheck that, and we'll look at that in a minute, because we can actually add photos to collections and organize them that way in the future. You also have some developed settings if you have automatic sort of presets that you want to add, which if that can be done later on, we'll learn about presets. And then some metadata options, again, not something to worry about right now. When you've selected all the photos that you want to import, just click the import button down here. Now, actually what I want to do is just select one of these folders one at a time to import. So I'm going to start with this folder, which is the Advanced Portrait Editing folder. So I have selected all of those photos, and now I'm going to click import. So you'll see that it imports our files. We're now back in this library tab. Now, just to show you what happens, if you click on another tab up here, we go to different sort of windows. So the develop tab is where we're going to spend most of our time in this course, where we're actually editing photos. You have these other ones, and then library is really where you organize your photos. So in this organizational structure, you have these different windows. You can make these windows smaller and bigger by dragging them in and out. You have your bar down here with all of your photos that you can also make bigger or smaller. And so when you're in one of these views, for example, we can change the view with these buttons down here as well in the library. You can also select which photo you want to look at from your tray down here, your photo tray. Now, we're going to talk about rating and ranking and filtering in just a minute, but one other thing I wanted you to notice is your metadata, which is over here. So you have the metadata from the photo. So for example, if we look at one of these photos, you'll see if you shoot in RAW mode specifically, and depending on your camera, you'll see settings like your exposure shutter speed, your aperture, your ISO rating, the camera, the lens that was used, when it was shot. If you have things like your GPS capability on, it will have like place, and that will actually help it appear on the map. And you can also add things like keywords and things up here, a little bit more advanced. And then next, we're going to look over here on this left-hand side, this window, which is where you really start to organize your photos. And we're going to look at that a little bit deeper in the next lesson.